Hey there, and welcome to the inaugural edition of The World's Okayest Drummer. We'll call this the Christmas edition, since I have my Christmas sweater and everything. And there's no fancy lights. I mean, this is pretty much my dungeon. I call this the woodshed, and I'm going to be talking about some things that, just some things that I think about when I'm playing the drums, things that I'm thinking about as a musician playing with other people, and just maybe you might find it helpful, maybe not. If not, scroll on. This is not the shredding chops heavy thing. This is more of how to be a good ensemble member, how to play with other folks, how to get and keep a gig. And so I just want to talk to you a little bit about my background. I've played the drums ever since I was a wee lad. I'm almost 60 years old. Um, I've also been a high school band director for 30 years, so I've taught a lot of different students and seen a lot of the ways different people learn, and so I think that might provide some insight. So, one of the first things that I want to kind of conceptualize in terms of what a drummer's role is in an ensemble in a group, I want to kind of back up from that first and talk about some things that I want you to keep in the back of your mind. Some people think of it as phrasing, but just to understand the concept that music is always going somewhere or coming from somewhere. It's always this. It's in motion. It's fluid. It's reacting to. It's never. How can I plug something in right here? It's more of like staying in the moment and listening to other musicians, but really kind of understanding the concept that there's maybe tension and release or anticipation and arrival, those kinds of things. And if you keep that kind of stuff in the back of your mind, even in things like a verse in a pop song, you still have these things where it's staying in motion, and your job is to propel that forward in a comfortable enough way and make that steady enough so that the people around you react and in a positive way and good things happen. Um, that's not going to happen if you can't provide a nice steady beat. And so that's primo uno number one. You need to be able to provide a good steady sense of pulse, time, and tempo, and all of these things are big concept stuff, and it's stuff that you got to keep at it. I mean, even right now, after all these years, I'm still, when I play, there are times when I'm thinking one, two, three, four, just subdividing and really trying to get down into the micro parts of kind of staying on front of the beat and the back of the beat, that kind of stuff. But primarily, I need to be able to sit there and lay down time that other people are going to feel good around. And in order to do that, I need to um, I need to be comfortable doing what I'm doing. I need to be confident doing what I'm doing. And those kind of things come from repetition, from just skill development, all of that kind of stuff. But what I want to kind of do is talk about the big picture stuff, and then as we kind of go along and start to dive in, to start to talk about ways, okay, these are some tricks you can use, or this is the way I practice. You can take it or leave it. Um, but just to talk about some things so that you really kind of help engage with the other people that you're playing with. Um, but your sense of pulse, time, and tempo, those things are paramount. You just and those are things that I find that like students are either they lack the skills to kind of play in time, and that's one set of things. But then there's this other group of people that just has trouble with keeping time in their head. They just don't really feel time like other people do. And the good news is in both instances there's hope, and there's ways to kind of get around that, and it usually involves just the grindstone: practice, effort. The last thing you need to be thinking about when you're playing drums is, where can I stick in this cool lick that I just figured out? That's the last thing. And on that same note, um, in order for you to kind of confidently lay down time and to be an effective musician, you're you can't be thinking. Like I don't. The most distracting and annoying thing that I hear in other musicians is in their playing, you can hear them actually thinking about what they're doing. It's really a relaxed, um, almost involuntary action when you're playing. And so that comes with, again, practice, effort, and all of that kind of stuff. Be authentic, practice. Don't try to be something that you're not, um, and the results will come. So, what does that actually look like in kind of practical applications? The first thing is just kind of keeping a nice, steady sense of time. Being able to play something that everybody says, okay, there it is. I got it. Now I can play my instrument and I can get along with that. Um, it needs to be relaxed. It needs to be confident. It needs to kind of have this thing like the drummer needs to be the kind of person that says, here's the beat. You guys go with me. Um, and sometimes that means being just kind of in the background, kind of out of the way. Or here's a nice vocal moment going on. You still want to imply occasionally where that beat is. Maybe a 2 and 4 on the hats with your feet, just to kind of let everybody know, hey, it's safe. I got the beat right here. I'm kind of keeping you guys square. Um, and in order to do that, from my perspective, what I'm thinking about a lot of times, especially at slower tempos, I may be acting like, okay, there's just one little hat choke here on 2 and 4. But really, what I'm thinking in my mind is I'm that duck that's like chilling on top of the water but paddling like crazy underneath, thinking, okay, I got this and 2 and the 3 and the 4 and the 1 and the 2. Subdividing. I'll do another episode pretty soon, probably, on the use of the metronome. Um, you just can't get away from it. You gotta use it, and then you gotta kind of turn it off too, because people who kind of metronome too much, they don't really make you groove. So you got to be able to have some little push and pull, and everybody kind of finds that spot for themselves. But if I had to say one or the other, people tend to lean towards not using the met enough. Um, but just feeling things in time. And often it's not, what happens is people are playing a beat. And they're thinking, okay, that's cool. But what happens is we get a little bored with it, and suddenly we're trying to add some trash in there and kind of fancy it up. And that's when our time gets a little crazy, when the best served is just playing that beat. So that kind of leads me to my next point about kind of playing good steady time. Instead of figuring out what can I put in to the pattern, figuring out what you can take out of it. And I've gotten some real good mileage sometimes when I just don't feel like something feels right, about just taking stuff out. And usually it boils down to, like, I figure out what can I take out in a beat. Let's say something like that. If I'm trying to if I'm just not feeling good about it, what I'll do is I'll kind of take things and figure out, okay, what's the kernel, what's the most essential part of this beat? Well, you got the snare drum on 2 and 4. But usually what I'll do is I'll go and play the beat, and then I'll start taking stuff out until I get to what I feel like is the essential part of the beat. Check it out. Almost always come back to that backbeat. Snare drum on 1 and 3. Bass drum on 1 and 3, snare drum on 2 and 4. Almost always you're going to kind of luck it back. But then there's other things, like, I think this is important too. So I'll pay attention to that part of the beat, a two, a four, that kind of stuff. I'll really try to focus and dive in. If I don't feel like it's grooving, then I'll try to focus in on that. So when I'm getting the whole thing going, if I feel like it's not great, I'll focus in on that kind of stuff. So figuring out what to leave out is super duper important, and almost always, well, let's just say there's a reason that Ringo is super famous. He's not going to win the modern drummer drum off, but he's going to sit there and supply. He's that guy that stays in the background that you rarely pay attention to, but you love the Beatles. And he has a lot to do with that, a lot more, I think, than people give him credit. And it's because he gets that essential element of it all. Um, so don't don't be too. There's two kinds of people in the world, really. There's the people who run their mouth all the time and are rarely listened to, and then there are those men of few words, or people of few words, if you want to say that, that often are the most interesting. And I tend to be a yapper, so I have to really kind of, in my playing, and both, I'm the kind of person that finishes your sentences and jumps in, a little blurter kind of guy. And so that's just my natural proclivity. And so when I play, I have to watch out for doing that musically, kind of doing too much. And I would say it's that kind of skill development curve. You kind of start to develop these skills and kind of start to get a little chops, and you're kind of like, oh yeah, I can do this. And now you want to do that in everything you play, when that's not, 90% of the time, that's not the appropriate thing to do. Less is always more. Um, and so figure out, and the other thing is to kind of be happy and to make just a basic backbeat. Make it feel good. That it's hard. It's one of the hardest things, is just to make something feel good. And that has to do with my next little concept about this kind of playing time, is the weight of things. Like if I was playing a snare drum beat and just barely putting it down, it doesn't have that feeling of being one, or just putting some weight. You say you want to kind of spice it up just a little, you might play. And even if you hear on the hats, what I'm really kind of subtly doing is this. Basic time is one of the hardest things to do. Practice it a lot. It's boring, and you got your old fields. But if you can't do this and keep it steady, you ain't gonna keep the gig. Practice. The weight and the stress of stuff is also important. How you, that's a whole other concept that I'll get into maybe in the next one, is talking about kind of feel and groove, pocket, all that kind of stuff. Maybe some different things you can do to kind of enhance your playing as far as that goes. But it's not going to work if you can't stay in tempo and if you can't stay in time. Um, so, good teachers do three things. They tell you what they're going to teach you, they teach it to you, and then they tell you what they taught you. So just to kind of review some things today, in our very first episode, is determine what your role is. Like, consciously think about what your role is in a group. And that is, you are driving the rhythm, you're driving the pulse, you're the guy who's keeping time. But in the back of your mind, you want to be thinking, this is a flowing, consistent, moving thing, and that's propelling forward, and how am I pushing this forward in such a way that's engaging with the other musicians and causing good things to happen. So the next thing is just when you're playing and staying in time, um, it's got to be confident. It's got to be relaxed. A lot of times, I'll kind of play stuff on the ride cymbal because I've got a ride that's kind of washy if I get on it too much. And so, if I'm having trouble playing some kind of maybe a difficult snare pattern, and and I can't play it where my ride cymbal stays quiet, then I know that I'm too flexy anxious about it. Let's see if I can. So, steady time, be relaxed, think about what you can leave out, super important, and figure out different ways to stress different parts of the beat. Figure out different ways to kind of lean in so that your time feels good. And basics matter. Um, how loudly you play. If you can't play something super soft, I don't want to listen to a drummer who can't play something super quiet. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite ways to end a song is with the fade out, as in you fading out. Then you start thinking about what really matters, right? What can I leave out? That's the mark of somebody who knows what they're doing, in my opinion. Hey, not that I'm great or anything like that, but um, I think that's something that people kind of go to the extreme. I want to shred. I saw this video, this hi hat he's got. I've got all the equipment now. How fast can I play, and how can I play all these busy things? People don't want to hear that. They want to sit back there with a little beer in their hand, and they want to do this. That's good, and they want to be able to, for that live music that they hear to sound so good that they can carry on their lives and let that become a soundtrack and enhancing part of what they're doing. Um, I hope this has been helpful to you. Hope you'll tune in, and Soli Deo Gloria. Later.